Welcome back in, Billiken fans. We are doing a special recording tonight for two reasons. One being that we have Jack Raboin, former Billiken walk-on and member of the Eastern Illinois staff under Marty Simmons. He is graciously joining us, and we will kick it over to him soon enough. But first, we've got pressing Billiken talk. Peter, the Billiken women are going dancing again, and they are heading to Ole Miss for their first round match of the NCAA Women's Soccer Tournament. I don't hate this draw.
Neither do I. I think in terms of the first round, it's a pretty good draw. Ole Miss not being one of the top 16 seeds. The way the women's bracket works is there are a top 4 seeds in each bracket, and each one of them has more or less a pod. And we play Ole Miss, which is not a seeded team, at Ole Miss. And then in the second round is where it gets tricky, because that's where a number 1 seed, Rutgers, I think they were the number 3 overall team. Rutgers would wait on the other side if they get through Bucknell. So first round, definitely a favorable draw. Things get a little tougher after there, but yeah, I'll take it.
And historically speaking, with this women's soccer team, they've really done pretty well against major, quote unquote, major conference teams. Last year, of course, they went to Arkansas and beat them handily 3-1 at Fayetteville. And then the tough 1-0 OT loss, I believe it was in penalty kicks at home to Oklahoma State. That, of course, was the game where the Oklahoma State player showed COVID symptoms and they took her to get tested, delaying the game an hour or so. So this is not anything new for the Billikens playing a major conference team with a winning pedigree. I mean, a year in 2019, they played Iowa State and won 1-0 in OT. So, history is kind of on our side in a way.
History is, yeah, I think so. And it also feels like SLU's playing they're probably their best soccer of the year down the stretch here, which is good, because the last time we kind of played a stretch of power conference teams in the beginning of the season, the non-conference schedule, it was a little rougher going. Xavier, Iowa, Kansas, Louisville, Purdue, those were all 1-goal losses, except Kansas was a 2-0 loss out at their place. So certainly you have to, if you get past the very beginning of the season, this team has done very well against this type of opponent in recent years, for sure.
I think the only thing that's not on our side necessarily is the fact that of the 4-peat season, the Billikens have yet to come away with a victory in the NCAA tournament. They lost 2-1 to Kansas in, I believe, 2018. They lost 1-0 to Notre Dame in 2019. Of course, they lost a heartbreaker in 2020 to Washington. And that was, the score was 0-0. And I believe they lost in penalty kicks, if I recall correctly. So
yeah, after a double overtime, just battle of a game. This actually, when you go back through all of those, this actually feels like kind of a more favorable first round draw than any of those, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel that way, because I legitimately don't know a lot about Ole Miss. I just feel like the SEC women's soccer is good, but we've tend to match up well against SEC teams in recent history. And I think this senior team is the senior laden team is going to be hungry for that first NCAA tournament win. I think we had a bad draw last season with Washington. I think that was an odd matchup. I thought we should have come away with a win. I think we did hit a couple posts in that game, if I recall. I believe at least one hit the crossbar. And of course you lost Hannah Larson right before that game as well. We can't talk about the Billiken women's soccer team without talking about that. So I think the Billikens are looking good going into it. Um, I think I'd be nervous if what happened against Dayton happened against UMass, but I think the Billiken defense stepped up. Sophia Stram was back in the lineup, and they looked solid. They didn't necessarily control the possession like you'd like to see in the first half, but they turned it around in the second half and completely dominated that UMass team.
Yeah, it really comes down to, can they continue what they did in that second half there? They certainly, it was like watching them come alive, and you wonder how much of that they can kind of harness and take that game film back and go, here's the things that we were doing. It felt like they were winning every 50-50 ball. It felt like they were making really good decisions with the ball at their feet, knowing when to get rid of it. Just they saw the field well. Everybody just seemed to be playing with a higher energy level, especially after that second goal went in, and then it just, the floodgates open from there. So if they can kind of keep that going, and draw from those lessons, I wouldn't want to be Ole Miss on Friday.
Looking more specifically at Ole Miss, they come in 12-5-3, 6-3-1 in conference. They had quite a few. They played a gauntlet of a schedule, Pete.
Yeah, they did. I think I'm seeing 5 ranked teams here in the regular season, and then another one in the conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, just an impressive. Well, I mean, to be honest, they're all of them except for one were in conference.
Right.
So 2-0 win against number 5 LSU, a 4-1 win at number 16 Arkansas, a team that the Billikens did beat last season on the road in Fayetteville. 2-1 win versus number 19 South Carolina, a 2-2 draw against number 19 Auburn, and then a 3-0 loss against UCF when they were number 17 in the country.
So I think a lot of this comes down to how strong do we think the SEC is as a conference? Like these are relatively short seasons. You're talking about a regular season that's somewhere from 15 to 20 games for each of these teams, when you include conference tournaments. And so you're only getting like 6 or so chances, maybe a few more than that, against outside conferences, and they're playing their games against Middle Tennessee, Arkansas State, South Alabama, Samford. So obviously UCF is a good opponent there, and they drop it 3-0. But then yeah, you're really relying on these rankings being solid to go, okay, well, the SEC is a good conference. But I guess we'll see, because I look through this schedule, and Ole Miss is not a team that scores a whole lot. Mostly when they're winning, they're only needing 2 goals to do it, which I thought was kind of interesting, because if you get to the next round against Rutgers, that's definitely not the case. They score a ton.
Yeah, it's going to be a little nervy. I think that makes it a little nervy, because this is a team in St. Louis University that has struggled to score pretty much the entire season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the kind of matchup where 2 goals is going to be enough for whichever team gets there.
There's a little bit of local flavor on this Ole Miss team. Channing Foster, a senior for Ole Miss, played for Scott Gallagher for 1 year, I believe, and won the 2016 ECNL North American Championship. She transferred from St. Charles North High School in St. Charles, Illinois, to Mayfield, Kentucky, to Graves County High School. So, and she does a lot for this team. She's got 24 points on the season for this Ole Miss team, 9 goals, 6 assists. Leading the way in points for Ole Miss is Haley Stackpole. She's got 25 points, 5 goals, 15 assists. Filling the net alongside Channing Foster is Molly Martin. She's got 10 goals with only 1 assist. So, I mean, this is a team that can score, but they do play very well defensively.
Looks like almost all of their goals came from 4 different players. The three you mentioned plus Mo O'Connor had 6. And then there were only 5 goals outside that group. So it seems like it really comes down to how much can you neutralize what they're trying to do with those top 4.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They maybe play 15, 16. I think the Billikens run a little bit deeper than that. But I think this is gonna be actually a really good game. I'm a little upset that it's at the same exact time as the Billiken men play Friday night. But it's make sure your phones are charged, everybody, and don't turn the volume up too loud at the game.
Yeah, it's we were just talking, it's going to be a crazy Friday too with the men's team going at noon in the A10 tournament, and then you've got the US men's national team. Unfortunately, no Tim Ream on this time around, but that's a later game. But yeah, it's going to be a wild Friday for sports, especially for soccer fans.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like we just did this like 6 months ago with the women's soccer NCAA tournament.
Well, yeah, I think we did, didn't we?
I know. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I'm bummed that I think it was it women's soccer and St. Bonaventure no, that couldn't have been possible. But no, I remember sitting at home on a Friday night and enjoying a few beers and watching some women's soccer in the NCAA tournament. And unfortunately, it's going to be a little more difficult this time around. But hopefully they go on and pull off the quote unquote upset, and we're watching them next week.
Yeah, and if they do get through the second round against the winner of Rutgers and Bucknell, which obviously Rutgers is the heavy favorite, would be on the 19th. So we would have another full show before we get to that one, and we don't want to preview 2 teams and jinx this one before we get to it.
Absolutely, I'm excited. Just of note in this tournament, a couple of teams on the Billiken schedule. Your city's team, Xavier, made the tournament. They take on Milwaukee in the first round with a potential matchup against another number 1 seed in Virginia. Second round, SIUE takes on Notre Dame, and they're in a pod with another Billiken opponent in Purdue, who takes on Loyola Chicago, who the Billikens beat last year. So that's a couple of teams of note that are in this tournament. Of course, Arkansas is in this tournament. They're a 2 seed. Of course, we mentioned the Billikens beating them last season as well. So yeah,
it's a strong field. It looks like they kind of do but they don't have these necessarily labeled like they used to, like the men's basketball, where they've got like the South and the Midwest and the West. But it kind of looks like they're at least potting teams to kind of look like that and keep it relatively geographic. But it's a good field, and SLU definitely has their work cut out for them.
Were you surprised that we did not get a seeded team?
A little bit. When I was just kind of looking at some stuff on Twitter before, the draw. I think it was I was telling you about the A10 women's soccer fan account was kind of giving some possibilities as to where they might go. Xavier was one of those, and I was kind of rooting for that one. But I also thought with an 11 RPI that Xavier would be seeded, and it turns out they're not. But yeah, I kind of thought, given the season that SLU had, I thought we were maybe punished is not the right word. But I thought they'd look at the overall record and kind of the lack of success they had in the non-conference and give them a pretty tough draw. So I am surprised to see them not facing a 1 through 4 seed in the bracket.
Yeah, I think this is a weird. It's weird because it is a tough draw in that you almost have no shot at coming out of the second round. I don't want to be, doom and gloom like that, but comparatively speaking, last year when they had a number 4, I mean, it was almost as tough of a draw, if not tougher, I thought, in a first round matchup at least.
There's also the travel component of it as well, right? I mean,
Right.
because SLU had to go.
Where did they
Look,
go?
didn't they go out to Washington? No, I'm sorry. They were. That's right. These games were all last year, all in North Carolina,
Yes.
at various sites around the state of North Carolina. Um, so yeah, I think I remember there being kind of a chaotic travel schedule last year as well. But anyway, that's certainly always a component. And I guess, Washington's coming all the way across the country, but that wound up just being a tough matchup for them. And, SLU obviously dealing with a fresh injury and everything to a key player, played a role in that one too.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm pumped up. This is a huge weekend for the Billikens across all 3 major sports, or 2 major sports that the Billikens compete in basketball and soccer. So keep an eye on women's soccer, where maybe at halftime, and maybe the athletic department will put the women's soccer game up in the 1818 bar at Chaffetz.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, certainly, I'm guessing this thing's going to be streaming, so
Yeah.
there's nothing that would be holding them back from doing so.
I did do a little research on this a while back because I was curious why there aren't more bars that just host ESPN Plus, or like that just don't show any game on ESPN Plus. They feel like it. I know Amsterdam Tavern here in St. Louis does, because they show a lot of the Bundesliga, and then they'll show the Premier League next season. But apparently there is actually a license. So it's similar to like when you show a UFC fight, a pay-per-view, you have to have a license to show, like you have to have a business license for ESPN Plus instead of just a commercial. Like it's a commercial account instead of a just a personal account. So
I wonder if that's
that might preclude the bars from showing it.
okay. Yeah, I wonder if that applies on campus or not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I'll see what I can't dig up, and we'll tweet it out if we can find out if they'll be trying to get it to the fans inside the arena somehow.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
tough matchup on the road. What's your prediction for this one? And who are your 2 key? If you got to pick 2 key players on SLU that are gonna, get them this win against Ole Miss, who are you picking?
I think Halverson has to continue what she showed in that second half against UMass. I think we're going to need Hannah Frederick to return to the goal scoring form she had last season. And, I think if you have someone like Matten Summers show up the way she did against UMass, I think we're in a good spot. I think this one goes to overtime, and I don't know what happens from there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was actually thinking Halverson and Summers myself in this one.
I like that.
Or maybe a recency bias just based on how well they played
Yeah,
in that A10 tournament.
I think it's all about continuing the momentum. And
I would like to see Piricelli just be just a brick wall in this thing and just make good decisions, be just really sound. I think she's kind of an X factor for SLU.
She's definitely a game breaker for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll call it 2-1 for SLU, overtime or not. I think I think they could do this one. And just take it from there.
Yeah, I not to take a big right turn, but if you guys haven't gone out to see the men's Instagram account, men's soccer Instagram account, they posted a great angle of Patrick Schulte's save. You mentioned X factors. So it reminded me that they showed a great behind the goal look at his save. So I finally got to figure out how he saved that one. And I mean, it's absolutely incredible. But that's what we got coming up. Mark it down. Pete says 2-1 in OT. I say OT, and I am an indecisive message board moron that can't make a call because I don't want to say that the Billikens will lose in OT. We're going to kick it over to our little mini interview with Jack Raboin on Marty Simmons' staff at SIU, or not SIU, Eastern Illinois. And he's a former Billiken walk-on. So enjoy that. That's coming up right now. All right, Billiken fans, a special guest. For some reason, we're having opposing coaches on the podcast lately. We have the assistant to the head coach of Eastern Illinois and former Billiken walk-on Jack Raboin joins the podcast right now. Jack, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Always good to be here. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we kind of circled this one in our texts back and forth when you actually confirmed that you guys would be playing the Billikens at SLU. So thanks for the scoop on that one.
Always happy to give you a little something.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you coming on. And, we were just wondering if you could go ahead and just walk through all the plays that you guys are going to be running on both offense and defense on Friday, if you don't mind, real quick.
No, I'm a young coach, but I'm not a dumb coach. I can tell you that. Got to keep some stuff in the back pocket. I know that Coach Ford and his staff do a good job scouting, but we got to keep some stuff that, they can't find out about. So
well, it was worth a shot. So you guys play Northwestern tomorrow. Big test before you head down to SLU.
Yes, it is. Yeah, Northwestern's very talented this year. Obviously, a Big Ten team. Pretty physical. Like to play inside. Obviously, we saw that game against Lindenwood last week. They were really good on the defensive end. So we just been working all week about trying to protect the ball and stuff like that. It's kind of a good matchup going into SLU. Pretty similar opponents as far as really pressure you on the defensive end, get up in your face, stuff like that. Offensively, it's a little different, but the defensive end is definitely similar.
So what's it like now that so you worked under Jay Spoonhour and now you have Marty Simmons comes in, he chose to retain you, which is awesome for you, man. I'm so happy. But how has life changed in the program? What's the biggest difference over there?
I would say this year it's more fundamental oriented. Last year it was more kind of loose. I would say more professional style as far as like we expected the players to do stuff. Like they were expected to get shots up. Like we just kind of threw them, passed them the ball and we didn't correct their form. When Coach Simmons got here from day one, it was, working on footwork, working on hand placement on the ball and everything. So we're kind of teaching them fundamentals and then going into the more strenuous stuff. But that's what I would say. We just built everything from the ground up, and it's kind of like what Coach Ford teaches. Just, the first couple of weeks of summer, we brought him in and all we did was stationary shoot. And then we just built it up from there. The old school, he played for Coach Knight and Coach Cruz. I mean, he played for some great coaches, coached with Coach Cruz forever. So he's got that, the style with him that you got to build it before you can go do other stuff. So I'd say that's the biggest thing is we're actually coaching a lot more this year than what we did last year.
You think that has more to do with him, the new coach specifically, or the fact that last year it was such a senior heavy team?
I think this is how Coach Simmons operates. He obviously wants things done his way, and he's got a certain way. I mean, he and Coach Novsek, our associate head, have been very successful. When they were at Evansville, their last 3 years, they had the conference leading scorer every year on their team, their last 3 years. So they just got guys that can put the ball in the hole, and they teach that. So I think that's his style. He has a very specific way. He teaches the motion offense, which a lot of guys, want to just run ball screen after ball screen after ball screen. He teaches the motion offense, which a lot of these kids that we recruited, they haven't played that way most of their career. So we just teach the fundamentals, back cuts, pick, all that stuff. So that's just his style.
This is a series that has been going on for quite a number of years, given the Spoonhour SLU connection. Was there a question as to whether or not it would continue, or was it kind of a no-brainer?
Not no brainer, but Coach Novsek and Coach Ray are pretty close. And then obviously I get in Mike's ear rather frequently and just say that, I want this game pretty bad. And Mike shot me a couple dates and I took him to Coach Novsek, who does our scheduling, and we made one work. So think it was a little mixture of just still having that connection that always helps you in these situations. So.
I want to ask you about not just the coaching transition, but kind of the personnel transition from last year to this one. Because like I mentioned before, it was a senior heavy team last year. I think the top 6 scorers and then like 7 of 8 and 8 of 10 were all seniors. And I think only 2 of those guys are back, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
So how are you looking to kind of replace the production that left at graduation last year?
I mean, a big piece we lost was Marvin Johnson, obviously transferred to Oklahoma, and he was a guy that flirted with a couple triple doubles last year. So we lost volume in him and Josiah. And when you take those 2 out, they were a big chunk. So we're trying to get 6 guys to fill those 2 spots is really what it's going to be. We need more people to be at, 8 to 10 points a game instead of having those couple guys at 20. We're trying to have more production throughout the lineup. Obviously bringing these guys in, that's what you're going to get right now. From the start is we're going to get hopefully some production 1 through 10, instead of just having those 1 or 2 main guys and the rest of the guys are just kind of like George Dixon was just a rebounder. He didn't score much for us last year, but he was a bulldog in there. He just grabbed offensive rebounds. So hopefully we got guys that do both. They get some offensive rebounds and then you get 6 or 8 out of them, and we go from there.
Looking at the game against SLU, how much has Marty kind of consulted with you at all, if any, concerning the play style of the Billikens and what Ford wants to do on offense and defense?
We've had a couple meetings, just kind of gone over just the basics right now. Obviously we were focused on Northwestern throughout the weekend. Coach Walker has the scout for St. Louis, and so he and I have met 2 or 3 times a day for the last 4 or 5 days, just going over just intimate details, watching the last couple games from last year, and then obviously just trying to break down anything we could from what we got for this year. But obviously with Javonte out, we don't have much of an idea what changes are going to be made. We can only guess on that and, read into it as we may. Hopefully we get it right, but I don't have any inside scoop as much as I would like to have some on the changes that are going to be made, even though there's some really good friendships there. Neither one of us are kind of budging on that. And, we'll put the friendship aside for a couple hours at 7:00 Friday and be good at 9. So.
Your 2 leading returning scoring players are Sammy Friday and Kashawn Charles. Do you think they're kind of the number 1 and 2 on the roster in terms of, obviously they're the most veteran players now. Do you look at them as the top 2 options, or do you think some of these transfers have an opportunity to be your, top point getters?
I think that it's wide open, honestly. We have guys that can step up, and I think it's going to be a different guy every night. I don't think that we're going to have a guy this year that goes out and leads us in scoring every single night. I think it's going to be a pretty consistent rollover of, this guy's going to lead us one night and the next night he might have 4 and somebody else gets 12 or 16, so it's going to be, I don't think we're going to have a guy, like I said, that breaks out and scores 18, 20 a game. Now, obviously somebody might come and surprise us and we just continue to go to them because we're going to play the hot hand. I mean, we got somebody scoring well inside. We're going to keep going to them. If somebody's hitting threes, we're going to try to get it inside and kick it out to them. But yeah, I wouldn't say that they're 100% our number 1 and number 2, but I think on any given night, Sammy could lead us in scoring or Kay could lead us in scoring. Kay went down to SIUE last year and knocked down, I don't even know, 6 or 8 threes and led the team in scoring after not scoring for 2 games before that. So he's a guy that once he sees the ball go through the net, the confidence level just goes through the roof, and he's a good shooter. So he's going to shoot the ball whenever he got the opportunity.
Can Sammy play on any other day but Friday? Is that required? Is he like, Sammy Friday? That's yeah, no.
I got you now.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm a chucklehead. You know that.
I do.
Sorry, let me put on my hard hat. That joke's still in construction. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I want to ask you specifically about Miles Baker. He's actually a guy truly nerdy SLU fans like me who kind of follow all the recruiting and stuff like that know, because we offered him out of Whitney Young High School.
Sure did.
And I'm kind of wondering, what does he bring to you guys, and how's he been looking so far? And do we have to worry about him, playing with a chip on his shoulder, not winding up at SLU, but playing a couple of years at Central Connecticut under Danielle Marshall?
Miles and I actually have not even talked about the SLU connection. I don't think that Miles knows that I know that he was offered. And I remember whenever I saw the tweet come through, I'm pretty sure it was my first year on campus that we offered Miles. But yeah, Miles is just a good shooter. I mean, that's what he did at Central Connecticut. He's a knockdown shooter. good ball handler. He does a lot for us. He can bring something different to the table every night. It's been a little bit of a transition for him as far as like just teaching the fundamentals. Again, he kind of, did things his own way at Central Connecticut because they didn't have that structure. But once we got him in, I mean, he bought in and he's been shooting the ball well for us. So yeah, he's going to be an option for sure.
Is there a guy on this team that could step up that maybe isn't necessarily expected to, but could be the game breaker Friday night if you guys are to be in it down the stretch and potentially come away victorious?
Well, I mean, we all know, people listening to this podcast, especially, that SLU's going to be dominant inside with the way that things are looking right now. You're possibly starting two guys at 6'9". I don't even know how much they weigh, 250 at the 4 and the 5. So, I mean, Jermaine Hamlin's going to have a big night for us if that's the case. He's an Illinois transfer, got beat up by Kofi and Georgie last year in practice, the year before in practice. I mean, he knows how to battle with those posts. So we're going to have to get a big night from him. And then any of our guards are just going to have to step up and knock down some threes. Obviously, being at SLU for 3 years, I know that whenever the smaller teams came in, we struggled if they hit a couple threes on us. I mean, those were the nights that we struggled. Maryville, I remember my senior year, came in and knocked down like 15 threes, it felt like, and that just takes the wind out of your sails. So if we can come in and knock down a couple shots early and get some mojo going, I think that's going to be our best bet. So again, we have 4 or 5 guys that I feel confident that could step up and knock down 1 or 2 shots early in the first half and then get it rolling. So that's going to be big for us, just knocking down the first couple threes.
You've got a lot of transfers on the roster. I think I'm counting 10 here total. Not that all came in. I know there was a coaching change, so a lot of them are new, and
Yes.
Not all of them necessarily this season. But are they all eligible this year? Are you waiting on waivers for anybody, or they're all clear?
Everybody. Yep, everybody's good. Yep.
Okay,
So we got
cool.
very lucky there that everybody was good to go as soon as they walked in. So.
Yeah, great.
Pete, go ahead. I'm just the chucklehead in this one.
So what's the travel schedule between Northwestern and SLU? Are you just coming straight back down?
No, so we play tomorrow night at 7. We'll bus back to Charleston. NCAA mandates we take the off day Wednesday because we have to have the off day at some point during the week. And the way our schedule falls, Wednesday is going to have to be the off day. Get to work Thursday. We'll probably practice in the morning, get on the bus, come down. Mike got us a practice time at 7 o'clock at Chaffetz. So we're going to practice from 7 to 8:30. Just get some shots up in the arena just so the guys can get used to it. And then Friday morning, we'll have team breakfast, go through some film, and then we shoot around at noon, and then game time's at 7. So kind of stinks. We have a short prep. I'd like to have a 2-day prep for sure and go through all this stuff because obviously Coach Ford's playbook is not 1 or 2 pages. That thing's a binder, and
Right.
It builds every year. So it's going to be hard for me to narrow down what I want to show everybody and what I want to explain to Coach Walker. But we're going to have to. So just go with the stuff that I think they're going to go to and hope that's right. So
Are you the lead on this scout?
Coach Walker is going to have the scout. I'm just advising and trying to help him with everything, explain the actions and stuff. So the thing about Coach Ford's offense is you can have 15 different sets that all have different hitters out of them. So 32 quick, 32, you just have different things. And then there's different actions and different plays that are kind of the same, heavy action and different, calls and stuff like that. So as long as you know the initial action, then you can kind of guess what's coming based on the second call. The problem is that Coach Ford doesn't usually have to verbally, yell that across the court. Yuri's kind of the floor general. So it's going to be hard to catch those signals, and I'm going to have to really watch that. So
you're the, as I mentioned, you were the assistant to Marty Simmons, and I kind of was going to give you some crap because, the Dwight Schrute assistant is the regional manager.
Yeah.
What's that role kind of laid out? What's your role as the assistant to the head coach?
That kind of changes on a day-to-day basis. So whenever Marty first got hired in April, I was the only guy left, and he obviously retained me, which I'm very fortunate for because I've learned so much from these guys. But Coach Simmons just took me under his wing, and so it was just me and him. So with an NCAA waiver, I was able to recruit up until we got our 3rd assistant. So I was able to do all of that. I was able to do, all of our summer stuff and everything like that. I was out on the road for a weekend early in the summer before we got our 3rd assistant on. And so that was nice at the beginning. And then as we've gotten our staff put together, I've more transitioned into an advisory thing. I just would go into Coach Simmons' office. We sit down, we talk game prep, whatever, just bounce ideas off of each other. If he's got a question about something we need to do in practice, if, say we need a press break drill, he asks me what I have in my bag, and I throw it out there, and we kind of dish it out and see which one we want to use. So he's really leaned on me, which has been cool in a couple situations, and obviously he's there for me to ask questions too. So it's been a real learning position for me, which is great because he's got great experience and great connections and a good history. So it's been nice.
We got to talk to the SID over there and the webmaster. Get you a real bio on this website, man. I couldn't do adequate research.
Yeah, I haven't really sat down with anybody. I've been there for a year and 4 months now, and haven't really sat down with anybody to get a picture or a bio on there. I need to probably do that, but that's I'm more about the basketball thing than the look. So I'd rather just kind of fly incognito.
So how far is campus from where you're pretty close to home, right?
Yeah, it takes me 14 minutes if I go in the morning, and it takes me 17 minutes if there's any kind of traffic. So
this is just like the closest thing to like a local D1 job as you could probably have, right?
Yeah, this is my hometown D1. I mean, this is D1 for our area. Illinois is 45 minutes from our house, so we always went up there. And but yeah, Eastern's been the local spot forever. Yeah.
So as you're kind of moving up through the ranks in your career, it's going to be bittersweet because you're never going to come this close to home again unless you come back in a different position.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and my mom will hate when I say this, but St. Louis kind of became home, honestly. I mean, I'm down in St. Louis as much as I possibly can be. So I think looking to go back there is more in my wheelhouse than staying in the area. 10 years down the line, I think my girlfriend wants to go back down there. She's looking at dental school at SIUE. And she'll get in here in the next couple of weeks. And so she'll be down there for 4 years, and then that's where she'll want to be. So I'm looking to try to migrate back there in some way, shape, or form eventually. Obviously got to spread my wings and go coach some other places first, and then hopefully make my way back to St. Louis.
She played soccer at SLU, correct?
Correct.
Have you been, I know you guys have been keeping an eye on the team down here. What'd you guys think of the tournament, the A10?
So impressive. I mean, those girls showed incredible toughness. Obviously, Hannah finally getting some quality minutes. She's been hurt, a little dinged up all year, so she's kind of had a minutes restriction. Getting her to start on Sunday, I think, was a big help for Katie and everybody. Hannah brings a lot to that team, big leader, and she's her and Bree are the only two that actually have been a part of all 4 championships, which is pretty special. But yeah, having her back, I think, was big for Sunday, and obviously you got a lot out of all the new girls as well. But yeah, I was pretty impressed because early in the year it was kind of on the fence there for a while. I was a little nervous. They just couldn't break through, but they figured it out.
So your game's at the same time as theirs on Friday. Which one is your girlfriend watching? I mean, is she going to be streaming you or them?
No, she will be streaming them from about the 4th row behind the Eastern bench. I can tell you that right now, because we talked about that on the bus ride up here. I texted her. I was like, "Oh, you're in a little bit of a predicament." And she hadn't seen the tweet yet. She was working still, so she's already figured out that she'll just stream that from Chaffetz. Hopefully, there's not too many people doing that, and she can get a signal. But
what was the reaction to the draw? I mean, you got Ole Miss, an SEC team. Not the worst outcome, but then you got a team in Rutgers looking ahead. What did
let me tell you exactly what she said. She seemed pretty positive about it. I'll be honest with you guys.
I think we were too.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting her to kind of be nervous because SEC. I mean, I don't know women's soccer outside the A10. Honestly, I study it pretty hard in the A10, but I don't know much outside of that.
Keep the girl happy.
Yeah, I mean, and we sit down and we watch all the games together, so I learn a lot. I wasn't a big soccer guy till I got to St. Louis either. So let's see here.
This is good radio.
Oh, she pointed out SIUE plays Notre Dame too. She follows SIUE a little bit with her connections because she's a local girl. She's got a couple friends there. So she said they got a way worse draw than we did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so Xavier got kind of screwed too.
Did they?
Yeah, they have. They should have been seeded, and they weren't.
Yeah, they were 11 in the RPI, and they didn't get a top 16 seed.
Dang, I don't know where that text went.
So much good conversation you got to scroll through.
I know. I mean, I didn't think we texted this much on the bus. I guess I did a halfway decent job talking to her, huh?
Yeah, you gotta pay attention to the players on the bus. Make sure they're not getting rowdy in the back.
I was trying to talk to Justin about SLU on the way up. Oh, okay. Here, I said I said Ole Miss, and she just said, "Well, that's not a bad draw. They're decent, but nothing crazy." So
I like that.
that's
a
a
good
good
way
way
to
to put it.
I think that's where we landed too. So
Yeah, that's I pretty much the sum total of our 25-minute analysis there.
yeah, we went for 25 minutes and came up with could
Yeah.
be worse.
Yeah. I mean,
it'll be close.
I think they're still a little salty because had the NCAA tournament, been held the way it normally is, they would have had a home game last year instead of having to play neutral site. So
Right.
I think they really want to get a game on Herman, and they know that they're good enough. They deserve a game on Herman. Obviously, this year the record just didn't go in their favor, but I think that having to go on the road as good as that team is always a danger for an upset because they're not as bad as you would say that their ranking shows. So they definitely are undervalued always by the NCAA. So.
Well, I think actually this year it's kind of funny because it almost seems like the NCAA paid them a little respect because the NCAA easily could have set them up against a 1 through 4,
right?
And they didn't. So, and I guess they could look at it and say, okay, Hannah Larson's down with an injury. Hannah Frederick hasn't been playing up to her level because of injury. So, I mean, it feels like for once in a blue moon, St. Louis University got some respect for historical, being good historically. So
yeah,
it's an exciting time for men and women's soccer over here, and exciting for you, man. I'm happy for you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in Chaffetz on Friday.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
I'll stop down for warm-ups and pop in and say hi.
Hopefully you will. I hope to see you.
Yeah, man. All right, dude. Well, go get some rest and good luck against Northwestern. And hopefully you guys come out victorious because it'll look better Friday.
Hey, I'm going for a dub. That's all that matters.
All right, buddy. You take it easy, all right?
All right,
Thanks,
good to see you
Jack.
guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
See ya.